Hey. Okay. Hey guys, it's Luna. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another girl talk. They are just labeled this. This is for absolutely anyone who wants to listen, not just to girls. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Luna. I do a little series on my channel called Girl Talk where I talk about things such as body image, body hair, periods, sex, like literally everything. But today I thought I would do one based on depression, confidence, anxiety, and everything surrounding mental health. I've been pretty open with my struggles with this on here. I talked a lot about it in my toxic relationship video, a lot about what I've been dealing with this year, but I just kind of wanted to sit down and recap and just kind of give you guys my thoughts and what helped me out of my depression, as well as answer some of your questions that I asked on Instagram. So I'm going to preface this by saying, of course, I am not a licensed professional. I am speaking on experience only. So again, if you're having any thoughts of suicide or are feeling like maybe you are depressed, please go seek professional help. It is so important. It literally saved me. I would say that all my life I have never dealt with a true depression. I've always been such a happy person. I have never been in a place where I didn't think I could get out, you know? I always had motivation still. I always like wanted to take care of myself. It wasn't until this year that I really dealt with a true depression. I would say there are two factors that really caused me to dive into this depression. The first one, what I really think was the main reason, was my whole life I have really been on like go mode. I had a very protected, like abundant, perfect life until I was about 13 when my parents divorced. My siblings were out of the house. I lived with my mom in New York. My dad in a way abandoned me at the time, and ever since then of just like living with my mom in New York, and she would work at the restaurant downstairs all day, and that's when my body dysmorphia hit. And then I moved back here and I lived with my dance teacher for a while, and it wasn't until like my last year of high school that I had a stable apartment with my mom that we lived in. Even after that apartment, after high school, I moved into another house with my mom and we split the rent, but then my brother came and lived with us and the pandemic hit, and it was constantly like something to fight for, and I was never totally comfortable in my own home. I was always dealing with stuff, always dealing with some family stuff, some family issues, and then I had Lucky and he was just a handful, right? I love you. Anyway, ever since then, everything has been go mode for me. I have been in almost like a survival mode in a way. I've worked so hard to come to where I am now, which is my own home, and I finally moved into it. And that, literally the moment that I moved into this house, my depression hit. And here's why I think that happened, is because I was finally comfortable. I finally had everything I want. I had my dream car, my own house where I could do anything, I could feel comfortable. When that happened, I remember just like moving into this house and laying like on this very couch just crying, because I think life in a way was like, hey, like you just got everything that you ever dreamed of and you're finally comfortable and stable, but like boom, now I'm gonna have you deal with all that trauma that you had since you were 13 and like all of that go until now. I think that's a very common mental thing. I just was not prepared for it, and that's what I think the main reason was that kind of dove me into this depression. And the second reason is something that you guys are familiar with, which is the toxic relationship that I was in, that I made a video about. I really don't want to keep talking about it because it recently resurfaced, and it's like something I'm really trying to get away from, because I didn't even want it to become like my story or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to give him that power, and I don't think it was fully about him. I allowed someone to treat me a certain way because I was struggling anyways. Regardless, he definitely did not help me. So there's two reasons, I think. I really dove into depression, but I do not want to keep talking about it. The other one, the latter, that was just like an extra cherry on top of the nightmare Sunday. That was a stupid analogy, but you get what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so I moved into this house. My family did not recognize me. I became such a cold person. I just truly like lost myself in every sense. I wasn't that excited girl that was like, I used to be so excited, like even to just get in the car and like drive and be able to listen to music or go get my favorite food, or just like, oh my god, I cannot believe that Thanksgiving is coming up and I get to be with all my family. I'm so excited, looking forward to that. Like I wasn't motivated in the morning. I remember I would get up, wouldn't even make my bed, wouldn't even like have any desire to take care of myself. I didn't think I was worthy of that. It was weird. I had no motivation, which was so scary. And I think this time I was like, oh, I will never get out of this headspace. I am depressed for life. I'm never gonna get better and my life sucks. is basically what I was thinking in my head. Dealing with all of that trauma was definitely a big thing, and then because of that relationship that made me feel so unworthy, so unwanted, I just like, that in a way validated everything that I was feeling, that I was just like completely unworthy of everything. Stuff with my dad, I was unworthy of love. That like strong girl that worked for her life, that has like finally gotten her dream. I lost sense of whoever that was because I was so caught up in this world, so caught up in what this guy was telling me that like I had no idea who I was. And it was so scary. Like even my sister, who you guys know I love my sister so much, she would come here and be like, Luna, like who are you? Like you're a completely different person. I wasn't present. I had my therapist at the time, and obviously everyone told me that this person wasn't good for me, and like that was the main thing I had to do, was get rid of that. But it was during that time that my therapist recommended that I start medication. Another big part of this is that I come from a European family, so typically, and I'm not sure if this is super common, but at least with my parents, who my dad's German, my mom's Danish, in European culture, like mental health isn't really a thing, at least from my experience. Like whenever I would say that I was depressed or not feeling well, it was like, okay, well like shape up, like look how grateful you should be, snap out of it right now, like you have the choice, look at you, you're so beautiful, how could you be upset, like out of all people? That was always like the response I would get, which would only make me feel more guilty for feeling that way. But if you're feeling guilty for feeling depressed at all, like everything is relative to your situation. You guys know they always tell you that the most famous wealthy people are probably the most depressed. Your blessings in your life and what you have or who you are has nothing to do with your brain chemistry that affects your mental health. So everything's relative. Remember that. Do not feel guilty for feeling a certain way if you are. I talked to my therapist and I got on medication, and I was scared about it. We agreed to put me on Zoloft. I started on 25 milligrams and then I went to 50, and then I'm at 100 now, and I'm graded at 100. And I was so scared. I had such a stigma around medication because I grew up very like homeopathic healing, which I think is great and I want to use all the time. Like I always get scared even just taking Advil. I have always been so afraid of depending on anything to be my normal self. Would always look at people that would like wake up and smoke weed to be their normal self, or like have any type of substance that would make them normal. I would look down upon that, and I thought about that with meds. Thinking back, I'm like, well no, medication gets you to your normal self if you are in a bad place. Like I am so down and my brain chemistry is so off that I need something that will bring me back to my normal self. And it doesn't mean I'm not gonna have all my highs that I normally do. Like it literally just means that like those low lows will not be there anymore, if that makes any sense. And I had such a stigma against it, but it was time for me to start medication. I did it, and the minute that I started medication was kind of when that relationship kind of came to an end. This was like the pivotal moment that I think I needed to get help. Was I came home and I was like in my bed just crying, sobbing to my mom. Like my mom was like holding me and I was trembling, and she was like, Luna, what the hell? Like who are you? Like you're gonna let someone do this to you? Or like look at you and like look at your life. And in that moment I kind of understood. I was like, oh my god, like what am I doing? Like who is this girl? Like I have no idea who I am, and it was so scary. Trigger warning right now, self-harm trigger warning, putting it out right now. In that moment I had never in my life wanted to hurt myself, but in that moment I felt the urge to like hurt myself in a way of like cutting my wrist. Like I wanted to do that, and it wasn't like a I want to feel pain type of way. It was a I want everyone to pity me, and I want everyone to see this, and I want everyone to feel bad for me because I'm like literally screaming for help right now. And I didn't do it, thank God. I did not go through with that. The minute I had that thought, I called my therapist, got help. I was like, you know what, this has to be the end for me. I cannot let this affect me like this. Ever since then, I started medication, and I got so much better, you guys. And it wasn't just medication, truly, that helped me. I really worked through it. Obviously left that toxic relationship after that night. That was like the end. Nothing about that was an easy scenario, but I needed that to heal, and ever since then I was getting so much better, and I started loving life again. And that was me on medication, which, you know, was scary. I thought, oh, I'm gonna become this numb creature that isn't creative and doesn't have any emotion, but like that's not the case. And I'm so grateful because I still have my lows, you know, like I still get sad about certain things and I still cry and I still have those, but I never get that low ever. And I still have my super highs, like especially my super highs. And regardless of that, healing is not linear, and I have to remember that. Like I was doing so well, and then recently I kind of got into a slump. But I'm just trying to tell you guys, like healing is not linear. It really isn't, and I'm glad it's not. Everything that I went through this year, that depressive episode, that toxic relationship, taught me so much about myself, made me so much stronger. So I'm glad that I do have my ups and my downs, but not nearly as down as I was, which is amazing. And that's just kind of like the overall, what do you call it, spark note of my mental health journey. That being said, I do want to answer some of your questions and give you guys some tips on what really helped me. When you're having a hard mental day, what are your favorite simple things to do? My top trick for you guys is to set tiny, like miniature little goals throughout your day. So for me, getting out of that like unmotivated state, oh, I wouldn't hang my clothes back up when I put them down, or I wouldn't go hang up my curtains that I just like bought, you know, just like little things. I wouldn't clean my dish as soon as it was done. I will literally like force myself to do these little tiny goals. I'll wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I'm gonna go get my coffee. I'm like, I'll stop myself and be like, no, I'm gonna go make my bed. And like tiny little goals are what helped me so much, because then they just become habitual and become routine. That I really did take into account also with like Instagram and getting into these deep stalking holes, like looking up their Instagram and looking if they follow me and like stalking the new girl, or like just like doing things that like clearly make me feel bad. Struggled a lot with that, of course, like every other human being in the world, but something that's so important, you have to like, I'll literally be there like typing your name and be like, Luna, like the little like angel in my head will be like, no, and I won't do it. So setting those tiny little goals, I know it's so hard, but genuinely so important, like so important. I feel like everybody hates me sometimes. Don't know the reason why though. I was literally just talking to my psychiatrist this morning about this, because I obviously have major OCD. I have obsessive thinking, and that I'm diagnosed with and I'm on medication for, but I would be, you know, in school taking a test and I would have to sing a song and finish the song in order for me to finish, like keep going in my test and focus. But no, my brain would like play tricks on me and play the song again. Like I would just have these like random obsessive thoughts, and I'm a very obsessive person. But the overthinking recently just started. I'll like FaceTime one of my friends, and if they don't answer or like reject my call or don't call me back within like a certain amount of time, I'll be like, oh my god, they hate me. Like what did I do? I'll like think about literally every single thing in my mind that they could be mad at me for. Like I'll literally convince myself of a whole entire story of a reason why they absolutely hate me and never want to talk to me again. And then they'll call me and I'll be like, oh, why was I so worried? Like driving myself crazy. I've never felt this before in my life. That is typical, like just rumination in your mind, and it only happens when I'm alone or not with people. So if you guys have any tips for it, please, I would love to know. But I do deal with the same thing. You are not alone. I feel like everybody hates me literally all the time for no reasons. How to cope when you have social anxiety. I would say that I'm a very social person. I do like having conversations with people. I don't get scared walking into a room. Like I feel like I can talk to anybody, but I do have trouble like actually enjoying myself. Like, I love my family dinners with my sister, like chilling with friends, but sometimes when I'm in scenarios of like meeting new people or anything, I just like don't enjoy myself. I think right now in the place that I'm not in a place to push myself of like, you know, having a bad time. Like I'm just not. So the most important thing for you to do, and this is like advice that my brother gave me that I've never forgotten, is no one's forcing you to do anything in life. Like unless it's the government and you're going to jail. Like no one in this world is forcing you to do anything. You don't have to go to that party. You don't have to stay there. You have the choice to do absolutely anything in your life. I'm not gonna sit here and waste my time and be upset or like not have a good time when I could be at home like being okay. I always use the classic like, oh, gotta be up so early in the morning, or you know, it doesn't hurt to do those little like tiny little white lies, and I do that all the time. Like I really do, and I have gotten really good at it. Maybe a little bit too good on it. I maybe should start pushing myself. Yeah, I really don't think there's anything wrong with removing yourself from situations that you don't think are good for you. But that being said, there are times that I think like it is important for you to cope with the social anxiety and put yourself into situations that maybe are a little bit more uncomfortable. What's one piece of advice that really changed the way you saw yourself? When it comes to like my body and my body image, I've talked a lot about this, but like one day you're gonna be lying in your grave and absolutely no one's gonna care about the size of your waist or the size of your thighs. Literally no one's gonna care. Like they're gonna care about what you did in this world or how you affected them personally. Your outer appearance means absolutely nothing. Like this society and social media and everything has made you think that it's everything when it's not at all. My effect on this world, how I am to people, that is what matters the most in this world, and I think that really changed the way I saw myself. I feel so unwanted by everyone in my life. How do I deal with this? I feel like this was kind of the main theme of my whole type of depression that I went through this year, because I think deep down, what really is my biggest trigger is feeling unworthy and unwanted because of issues that I had with my dad when I was 13, just feeling abandoned and not worthy of like his love and affection. That I took that out with guys that made me feel the same way because that felt like home to me, and I would seek friends that wouldn't give me that same type of like validation in a way. Kind of masochistic, like I want pain in a way, and I really just had to step back and understand, work through that trauma and understand that's not healthy, that's not what I want in the long run. But I do understand totally what you're saying because I have always just wanted to feel wanted. That's like the only feeling I want. I want mutualism. Like I want my friends to want to hang out with me as much as I want to hang out with them, and like I want to find eventually a partner that like wants and loves me as much as I want and love them. And you know, even when I like see I have like guy friends that like want some of my friends that are girls, and I'm like, well, why haven't you ever saw me like that? I want someone to want me or have a crush on me as much as you do of them. I get in my head so much about this stuff and I'm like, oh, no one wants me. And fuck, I don't know. I have no answer. God, I just literally told all myself that and believed it. See, I'm still dealing with it. That I haven't really figured out yet, but I don't know. I think it just comes with like confidence and self-love and loving to spend time with yourself. And the minute that you love yourself and you see your own worth, you can understand that other people would want that, you know? Be a good person. Like, don't be shallow. Don't be talking bad. Don't like, what you put out into the world is what you're gonna gain back. So I think working on yourself, working on loving yourself and loving the person that you are is the first step in anything. And that's what we're gonna do together, you guys. That's just kind of what I wanted to talk about today. A little bit of a talk about depression and what I've been through. Again, I'm not a professional. I'm just talking about my experience and genuinely can say that I'm doing pretty well, pretty stable. Obviously still dealing with stuff, you know. This healing does not happen overnight. Please, 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 if you're dealing with anything that I talked about today, reach out to someone professional. I promise you, like talking to a therapist, getting on medication, seeing a psychiatrist, which again, isn't for everyone, really helped me and really helped me get to a stable point. That is what I wanted to vent about today. I'm so happy we had this talk. If you have any more girl talk topics for me to talk about, please comment them below. I literally love you guys forever and ever, to the moon and back. And I will see you next week. Bye.